So we have heard about this very familiar word called as DevOps, right? So everybody knows what is a DevOps, but DevOps is ultimately related with one thing, that is money reduction, that is your cost reduction and your resource reduction and your time reduction. If at all you are going to follow any one among this, then that is what called as DevOps. Or if at all you are going to follow everything, then that is also a DevOps. So DevOps is all necessarily needed to be with the DevOps passion. It is almost a methodology. Okay, so it's not any technology, rather than it is a method. I'm going to follow this particular method to do an activity, right? So same like here, I'm going to kickstart with this particular Git session, okay, with one concept called as version controlling tool. Okay, so everyone here, I would have shared you the syllabus related with my DevOps, right? So definitely I would have shared you the syllabus. While I'm sharing you the syllabus, or when you take up a demonstration session with me, at that time you would have seen this particular page. Okay, so in this particular page, I have kept a version controlling system. Under that version controlling system, I'm going to cover you Git. Okay, so before getting into Git, which is an individual tool, before getting into that particular DevOps tool, I need to make you to understand what is called as version controlling system. Only if you understand version controlling system, you can able to understand the behavior, you can able to understand the purpose or the feature of your Git. So before starting with, we need to first understand how a version controlling tool will be working in real time. So first of all, I need to start with something called as version controlling tool, shortly called as VCT or VCS, version controlling system. Okay, in real time, we will be having various version controlling system. You would have heard about SVN, right? You would have heard about SVN Tortoise, okay? And you would have heard about a tool called as Bitbucket, and you would have heard about a tool called as concurrent mercurial. So all these are the tools in market which are doing the activity of your version controlling system. But ultimately here, first we need to understand why we need DevOps, what we are going to achieve out of this DevOps. That is what the ultimate aim of this particular learning, right? So before I start, I need to first show you that introduction. So I have made one documentation for you, which will be detailedly explaining you about the entire stuff related with Git and the entire stuff related with the version controlling tool, and what are all the types of version controlling tool, what is the feature of a Git, and who are all the competitors there in the market, and what is the basic operation related with the Git. Everything you can refer in this particular documentation. But before starting, I will go through this particular documentation for you to give you a basic idea about for what purpose we are going ahead with it. Then I will take you into deep diving into the concept of your real time. Okay, so I need to start with the version controlling system first. Okay, so I have a documentation for you that I have shown you, so don't need to take any notes on it, just to listen to me very keenly. Why? Because Git is one of the very easiest DevOps tool, but it will be all involved with the commands. So definitely you need to know enough commands to work with the Git, then only you will be getting an idea related with your real time. So to get an idea related with real time, you need to definitely need to learn that how this particular Git is going to function it for you. So now I have shown you a screen. In this particular screen, you can able to see something called as centralized version controlling system. Can you able to see this centralized version controlling system is a item or a topic which is going to give you an idea that how a centralized version controlling system will be working. Same like I have another option in a version controlling system, which we will be calling it as a distributed version controlling system. We will be shortly calling it as DVCS. And the earlier one, we will be calling it as CVCS. So CVCS and DVCS are the two components in real time, which is going to be called as a types of version controlling system. So first, let me tell about version controlling system, and then I will tell you about what are all the types of version controlling system available. So if you take this particular documentation, here I would have given you a definition related with the version controlling system. So version controlling system is a management of changes to a documentation or a computer programs, which is going to happen. That is nothing but your code, whereas your larger, bigger websites. So whatever the thing you are going to take as a change, all those changes you are going to manage under one tool. So the change management stuff will be initiated with this particular type of tools only. So version controlling tool plays a vital role in real time, which will be helpful for you to do your change management kind of activities to store all your changed code. For example, in real time, I will be working now as a developer. I will be having multiple codes. Okay. For example, I'm designing a website called as www. Okay. So Karthik's something, right? So karthik's.com. I'm going to design this particular website now. This particular website definitely will be having a code. Okay, so only with this code this particular application is going to work, but this code need to be get deployed. Only this code is going to get deployed on top of a server, then only this code will be accessed. Okay, with a developer or with a administrator or with any customer. So this particular activity need to be happened. But to make this activity get happen, first thing what you need is a code. So here we are going to learn something related with the code only. So these code will be keep on changed according to the functionality or according to the business requirement by the developer. So what this developer will be doing now, he will be keep on changing this code. So this code, whatever he is changing, whatever the changes he is implementing, all these need to be recorded as code 1, code 2, code 3, like that it need to be get recorded. So all these code 1, code 2, code 3, code 4, code 5, like this, it need to be recorded. Now, this recording need to be managed with one system. That system is what called as a version controlling system. We will be shortly calling it as VCS. So this code methodology we are going to store and keep under VCS. I said right. We are going to store and keep it as a code with the different numbers, so that whenever your client or a customer is asking that we have made a change in 2019, right? That code version number is a code 3. Can you get that code and implement now? Why? Because this is also an offer related with that. Then we can go and pick that code and we can proceed with the deployment. So like that, we need to have a reference of all our older deployments, all our older code. Yes, we can have smartly managed it with this particular version controlling system. So we are going to learn such a version controlling system only. Such a version controlling system is only differentiated, or it has been shown as a type into two. There are two types into it. One is centralized version controlling system. Another one is a distributed version controlling system. Once after learning centralized and distributed version controlling system, I will open a questionnaire session for you guys. So just listen to me very carefully. You can able to see in the screen both the centralized and distributed version controlling system, but you can able to see that both the diagrams are not looking like same. So there is some difference in between this diagram. What is that? The functionality difference is what written in the diagram also. For example, in any version controlling system, you will be having a working copy and you will be having a centralized server. So your Git is actually working like a master slave model. For example, in your real time, you will be having in your office a manager. Under that manager, 10 employees will be reporting, for example. All those 10 employees will be allocated with a particular task. Once after all the 10 employees has been done with the task or any update related with the task, all the employee will be going under reporting the same thing to the manager. For example, employee one may got an act to work with one code, and that code need to work for multiple days. Every day he will be giving an update. For example, I have done this particular feature. I'm working on this weapon. I'm facing this particular issue, and now I'm going to fix that particular issue. Yes, I have fixed that issue with the help of this one. So all these updates need to be get synced with the manager. Same like here we have a centralized system, which we will be calling it as a server. Whereas same like we will be having multiple developers in real-time environment, developer 1, developer 2, and developer 3. So there will be definitely multiple developers into the real-time environment. All these developers are working now. All these developers need to get sync with the original data. So then only the synchronization will be occurring without any issues. For that the sake, developer 1's machine, developer 2's machine, developer 3's machine. So PC1, PC2, PC3 will be installed with your Git client product. So using this Git client product, it will be integrated with the Git server product. So here we having two components. One is called as Git client. Another one is a Git centralized repository. Why we need this centralized repository? Now, all your content in your real-time environment need to be stored and kept into one single location, so that it will be easy for the others to pull the data from the single one. Rather than if it is going to get stored into my personal laptop, then my other developer cannot able to get my data. So if I'm going to be in leave now for 1 day, that particular activity is going to get postponed. To avoid that the sake, we are going to work with something called as centralized version controlling system to store all our data in a centralized manner. So we have something called as working copies and a centralized repository only. But this particular centralized version controlling system have some disadvantages also. What are all the disadvantages? I will come back to you later after discussing with the distributed version controlling system, and then I will distinguish and I will tell you the differences. Now coming to the distributed version controlling system. It will be shortly called as DVCS, Distributed Version Controlling System, DVCS. So this particular option is also available in your real-time environment with some of the tools of your DevOps. And you're good to follow this particular option only. And this is one of the advanced topic or advanced methodology of version controlling system. Check out here. Here also we can able to see a working copy, and here also we can able to see a repository, which is nothing but a server. So nothing new when compared with your centralized version controlling system. But one thing alone new, which you can able to see, one intermediate repository is also available. Guys, can you able to see that here you are able to see one ash color oval symbol of shade? Can you able to see here, which shows that it is nothing but a system. So in this system, you will be having a working copy. In the same system itself, you are going to have one repository so that you can instantly save all your items. At the day end, one time you are going to directly save it here. Then that is what called as a distributed version controlling system. Rather than in your centralized version controlling system, whenever you are going to serve something, all these saved components will be directly saved into your centralized repository. So it will be always expecting an internet dependency, because it is going to be a communication but between one system, one gray color ash you can able to see, right? So it is going to be the communication between one system to another system. So from one system to another system, you are going to get communicated. Now, definitely there should be healthy internet connectivity should be with. Right? For example, we are all going to communicate with each other via Zoom. Definitely this particular tool need healthy internet, then only the communication can be happen without any disruption. Same way, there is always an internet dependency. But check out here in this particular diagram, here in your distributed version controlling system, since we are going to store the content into the repository, which is a local repository, which is available in the same system itself, when you are communicating within the same system, it is not going to be your remote system. Then you don't need any internet. If you don't need any internet, then ultimately this particular communication is the best type of communication, so that at the day end, the entire repository which is available in the local repository will be stored into your remote repository. There are two types of repository. One is in your local machine, another one is in your remote machine. Your ultimate goal is to keep into the remote machine only. In this server only you need to update, but you are not going to synchronizingly update. Rather than you are going to first store it in your local machine, and then at the day end, altogether all your changes will be pushed to your remote repository or your server. This methodology is what called as distributed version controlling system. So here we don't need much internet dependency. Only one day, on a single day, only one time only you need internet to push and pull to do that particular operation only. So it doesn't mean that there should be a good internet in a continuous manner, like there how in your centralized repository. Why? Because in your centralized version controlling system, a continuous internet need to be available, then only the communication can be happened without any interruption. So to make that happen, to make that disadvantage to be avoided, your distributed version controlling system has been designed in this particular manner. The first thing what I said is you need internet dependency when you are communicating from system to system. Another thing also there, for example, I'm going to communicate with the very nearest person, I will be easily communicating. But I'm going to communicate with the remote person, I need to take my mobile phone, I need to dial it, and then the line need to get connected. Then one day I can able to communicate with that person. In that way, there will be a latency or a slowness. If at all you are going to happen with a slowness of communication, definitely you can able to feel an irritation to work with that particular environment. That is how your centralized version controlling system is designed. Why? Because it's always have a dependency to store the thing remotely every time. But here we are not going to store everything remotely every time. Rather than we will be storing it locally. So at the day end only we are going to push it out. So one time only the latency will be felt. Whereas in your centralized version controlling system, every time the latency will be felt out. to avoid such a case only, we are having the best system in place. That is what called as centralized version controlling system. More than that, distributed version controlling system people started to use. So your Git is a tool which follows distributed version controlling system. So this is the best methodology. So nowadays people are all following distributed version controlling system. In that distributed version controlling system, we have multiple tools called as Bitbucket, Mercurial and all. But all those tools are the enterprise versional tool. But Git is a free tier also. So many people using Git for one reason. Why? Because Git is a free tier, and also it is holding the best methodology of version controlling system. For that the sake, 65 to 70% of the organization is using Git. So that's the reason people all use Git, right? I think I have done with my introduction related with the version controlling system and the types of version controlling system, and I have given an introduction with Git also, because Git is a open source product, so you can get this free of cost itself. So anybody can install Git on anyone's server, so you can automatically get into the Git. So here we are going to use two things. One is going to be your Git. Git is nothing but your this machine area is going to be your Git, whereas this machine area is going to be your GitHub. So what is GitHub? I will show you in the practical. So just to remember, GitHub. Hub means a centralized repository. Same like here, it is going to be the centralized repository for multiple systems, for multiple developers. We are calling it as a GitHub. While doing practicals, I will teach about more about Git and GitHub. But here till now I have given some definition, right? I think almost I have done with my introduction part. So I will open a questionnaire session. Any of you have any questions? Yes, you can ask with me. Are you guys got clear? Can we move on practical? See. So if at all you are getting clear, at least one or two open and speak out, or some people can just put me in a chat saying that you are clear or you are in good stand of understanding.
Clear, Karthik.
Cool. Thank you guys. So I think we all good to proceed. So let me start to get into something practically. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to work with my DevOps tool called as Git. For that, I need to have some prerequisition. So what is that prerequisition? I need to have a system, right? I can install it on top of my laptop itself, but we guys are learning everything in DevOps with the help of EC2 machines only, right? Virtual systems only, right? So using virtual systems, I'm going to now teach you how to work with your DevOps tool called as a Git. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one virtual machine. So mostly everybody here may be knowing what is a virtual machine and how to create a virtual machine. So I'm directly going to create a virtual machine. Just listen to me that how I'm creating a virtual machine. So I'm creating a virtual machine using Amazon Linux. Okay, and T2.micro is going to be the model I'm going to use for it, and I'm going to configure it with the default configuration in the third step, and 8 GB of hard disk is more than enough for my Git kind of activities, so I'm going to omit it, and I'm going to name this machine with the name called as Git, but not now, later on. And the configuration system, I'm going to use the existing configuration system with all TCP. So usually how you will be creating it now, you can choose that option called as all TCP, which is available here. If you choose the particular option, all the port numbers will be opened. So whenever you are creating a EC2 machine for your DevOps, make sure that you are choosing all TCP. Why? Because DevOps tools, we may not be knowing what are all the port numbers in future. It may be needed. For that the reason, since it is not a live environment, we are going ahead with all TCP option itself, and I'm going to review it and I'm going to launch it. So while I'm going to launch it, I'm going to use an existing key itself. So I think I have an existing key with the name called as key 1202. So let me try to use that particular option. Key 1202 is available for me. Yes, thank you. So I'm going to reuse this key. So I'm going to reuse this particular key itself. So now I have chosen a machine with some standard model. So I have created this particular machine. So now this particular machine is in progress of creation, and I'm going to name this particular machine with the name called as Git. So I can directly edit here and I can able to give the name also. So I can skip the tagging page also, and I can come here and I can edit it directly also. So I'm going to give the name for the machine as Git. So now my machine is getting ready. Guys, you can able to see that my machine is getting ready. So you can able to see the running status also. For Linux machines, you don't need to wait till 2x2 check to be Git. created. So once you see running itself, you can able to log in into your machine. Why? Because your Linux are fast in nature, basically. So open a putty tool and try to log in into your putty. So I'm searching for putty and I'm going to log in putty. Okay. My system is a bit slow, just bear with me. So I'm opening a putty. So in this putty, I will be giving the IP address, username and password, and I will be trying to log in into it. Since I don't have a password, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to give the PPK file available here. So these are all the things which you can recap, like how you have created your machine. So I'm going to browse it up and I'm going to upload the content. The content is going to be key 01202. So let me upload this particular PPK file. PPK means putty private key. So using this putty private key, I'm logging into my machine. And my username for my Amazon Linux will be always EC2-user. So let me give EC2-user and give enter to log in into your machine. I think I have logged into my machine. So let me change the font size for your better vision. And I'm going to make it in a white in color so that it will be clear in picture. And connection timeout, I'm giving it as 240. So now I think I have got a machine. So this particular machine I need to switch over as a root user. Why? Because then only I will be having an appropriate permission to do with the Git installation. But before proceeding with the Git installation, listen carefully. Okay, you can able to see that the installed Git. Okay, so we can able to see that the installed Git which we are installed on top of our machine. That installed Git is all installed machine is already installed with the Git or not. We can verify with this particular command, which will be calling it as git version. So I'm using a command called as git version, and it shows me that the git version is not found, which means that git is not properly installed in this particular machine, which shows that git is not available. So what we are going to do, we are going to proceed with the step of installing git. So it is so easier. I already told that git is an open source product. If Git is an open source product now, you can get it from your Amazon Linux repository itself. So we are going to use a command called as yum. Okay, we are going to use a command called as yum install git. So this particular command is a command used to install your git. So yum is a command to access your repository of your Amazon Linux machine, a cloud machine we created, right? That machine's repository you need to access now. You need to write a command called as yum. After accessing that particular machine, what you are going to do now, you are going to install. What you are going to install? You are going to install git. So yum install git is a better command which is used to install your git. So here I'm going to use the installation of git. Check out here, yum install git is more than enough for you. This command is more than enough for you to proceed with the installation. So I'm going to give enter. You can able to see that the git is getting installed and it will be consuming maximum of 40 MB of size. 40 MB is not a big deal. Why? Because we have 8 GB of space. Right, so it is confirming whether you have an appropriate space or not for the other reason. Okay, now if you give git to space hyphen version, you can able to see the git version 2.23 has been installed and kept. So 2.23 git version has been installed and kept. So this shows that git came into your system. So first we have created an EC2 machine. Then using a command called as yum install git, I have created a git setup so that now my machine is getting got installed with git, and I have verified it with my git version command also. I have done with the git installation. Now I am going to take you into the basic commands related with the git. So I'm going to teach you some of the basic commands related with the git. But before proceeding with this basic commands, I need to tell you one thing. Don't ever worry with the git level commands. Okay, it will be just looking like you are learning Unix commands only. Upon your practice only, you will be able to get to know about it. So don't ever worry that I'm writing some Linux commands and all. It is not actually a Linux command. If at all you are going to work in Windows also, if at all you are going to work with a Linux also, both the way like these commands only we are going to work. This one we will be calling it as a git CLI. So git related command line interface only we are working with. So now whatever the command I'm going to run, all those commands are all not Linux commands. They are all also git commands. So both the way I will be writing out. So some of the Linux operations also will be needed with. Okay. So I think for some of the people I have already told that I will be arranging a Linux session. But for some of the people I have already arranged the Linux session. You would have booked that Linux session. So the Linux session, what are all the things we will be learned, those commands only here I'm going to implement. So one who doesn't attended the Linux session, possibly in this week, another day I will be arranging a Linux session also for you. So you can take up your Linux session and you can get an idea about what real-time wise we will be working with. Okay. So now what I'm going to do now, I'm landed up into this particular path called as /root. So using this mkdir command, I'm going to create one folder. So I'm going to use this particular folder for all my Git related operations. So using mkdir command, which is to create a folder, I'm using to create a folder. And once after I created a folder, I have navigated into that folder by changing the directory using cd command. Now if you give pwd, which is present working directory command, you can able to see root git, that is nothing but in which directory I'm standing out. Now if I give lsf and lrt, you cannot able to see anything. Why? Because this is a brand new folder just now I have created. So now if I rerun the same command with a different ideology, na ls-lrta, okay, ls space hyphen lrta. So ls hyphen space hyphen lrta means it will show you the hidden files informations also. So this is a command which is used for hidden files. So all the commands what I'm going to run here, later on I will put the history command and I will copy and I will paste it into your chat. So once I pasted it, you can copy and put it into your notepad for later references also. So just listen the command, don't spend your time in writing the commands. Okay, so ls space hyphen lrta is a command which is will be showing you the hidden files. Earlier I ran this command, right? It shows 0 files available, right? But check out now, it will be showing 2 files for you, which is nothing but dot dot dot. So hidden files are nothing but the files which will be starting with the dot extension. So if any file or a folder starting with the dot, then it is considered to be as a hidden file or the hidden folder. So here we have already 2 hidden files. But why I am speaking about one hidden file now, after some time you will come to know. But just to keep in your mind, you have something called as hidden file. So now you have a hidden file dot dot dot. So once you get into Git and you are going to start with your Git and you are going to work with your Git, first operation what you need to do with Git, you need to do Git initialization. You need to do Git init. The operation name is Git init. So init. So this is the command which is used for initializing your Git. So git init is a command which is used to initialize the Git. So once if you run this particular command, the Git will be initiated. So in whichever the folder you are working with, in that particular folder, you need to do Git level operation. The first thing you need to give is Git init. It is just like starting your Git. So that the system will come to know about the Git level operations are now supportable. So now if you run any command starting with Git, it will accept and it will start to work. For that the reason I have initiated it. But listen to my output of the Git init. It has given you a structure like initialized empty git repository under the folder called as a root git dot git. It means that a folder called as a dot git got created. This dot git is nothing but your git related local repository. Guys, have you understood? Earlier I told you what is a local repository, what is working directory, what is your remote repository using this distributed version diagram, right? Check out here, you have a working directory, right? That is nothing but your root /git. That is your working directory. Now where I am standing. And your local repository is nothing but .git folder. And github.com, it's a online website that is going to be your remote. So now I think I have made you to understand how this distributed system has been set up. So you need to first install your Git. In that .git folder would have been got created. That is only you are able to see now in the screen. But you are standing under the folder called as root Git. So root/Git is the current path where you are standing. That is what in Git language you will be calling it as working directory. For example, I'm going to create now one file. That file I will be storing out. Check out how normally I will be creating a file. I'll be creating a file like VI test only, right? So VI is a Linux command which will be helpful for you to create a file and put it into a edit mode. So check out now VI test a file I'm creating. So once I created a file like this, only a developer will be developing a code. So VI test, if I open, this is an empty file, nothing is available. So now what I'm going to do now, under this particular thing, I'm going to write something as a first line. Okay, so line line, first line, I'm going to write it down. So once I wrote the first line under this particular page, I'm going to save it out. So how I will be saving, see at the bottom, you can able to see colon WQ exclamatory mark. So once if I give like this, okay, this file will be saved out. Now if I give -lrt, you can able to see one single file called as test got created. So a file name with the name called as test got created, and this file contains the content called as first line. So this first line has been created and kept. That's it. But this file may not be available under your local repository. So now you created one file, right? That file is now available in your working directory only. So let me draw it like a diagram for your better understanding. Okay, so now I need to draw a diagram. So this diagram will be clearly giving you an idea that what is a local repository, what is a remote repository, and what is your other stuffs. Okay, so now check out, I have a local machine. So this is going to be my local machine. So local machine 1, local machine 2, local machine 3. So consider these are considered to be as a 3 developers machine. Okay, so this is going to be my developer 1's machine. Okay, so I will be putting it as dev 1. Okay, so developer 1 machine, and the next one I will be adding it as a developers 2 machine. Okay, so dev 2. So this is my developer 2 machine. And same like if I need a developer 3 machine, yes, I have developer 3 machine also. So developer 3 machine is also available. 3 machines are available. Never bother about it. These are all your friends' machine, because this is only going to be developer 1 is only going to be the Karthik's machine. Think in that way. So now I have installed my Git, right? Once I have installed my Git, in this machine itself, I will be getting one component which I will be calling it as that particular component I will be calling it as a local repository. So this local repository will be getting created under this particular machine itself. So now this particular local repository is available for you. Okay, so now check out what I'm going to do now. I'm going to create one folder. Okay, so how the folder I have created now, I have created the folder with the name called as a /root/git. This is the folder which I have created. So under this particular folder, what I have done now, I have created a file name called as a test. Under that file name, what I have created now, I have added some content to it, right? So let me put some ... into it. So showing that I have added a content. So this content need to be moved to your local repository. So here it is now saved as a system level only. So once the content is stored in the system as per system level, then it is a Linux operation. But it need to be stored into your local repository, then only we will be calling that as a Git operation. So now I'm going to perform a Git operation. That the Git operation is nothing but Git add. So once I give a Git add, the content will get added from the Linux into your Git area. The Git area is nothing but that a .git folder I told, right? That is what this Git area. Check out here. Now in my system, I have a local environment. In that local environment, I can able to see the test file. So in the same local environment, I have a .git folder also. If you get into this .git folder, you can able to see multiple operational components related with the Git, like branches, logs, hooks, descriptions, configurations. Everything will be available here, guys. Okay, so anything you need to do with related with the Git operation only, you need to do with that Git operations. Whatever you are performing, everything will be stored and kept into this .git folder only. So this .git folder is your local repository for your server EC2, the machine which I created and named it as Git. So now I think I made you clear what is called as a Git and what is called as a Git.git. So now I have two folders. So let me go to a notepad and show you what are all the two folders we have. So now I have a folder number 1, which I will be calling it as a /root/git. And I have a folder number 2, which I will be calling it as a /root/git/.git. So this is going to be your, okay, so this is going to be your local folder. That is what called as working directory, work directory I will put it at. And this is what your, okay, we'll be calling it as a local repository. So let me put it as repos. So this is what your local repository. So now you will be getting into item called as a github.com. So github.com is the next component which is coming into your picture, which we will be calling it as a remote repository. So you need to know first what is a local, what is a remote, what is what. So that's the reason I'm making it more clear for you that folder 1, folder 2, and your website, which is nothing but www. Which is remotely present out of the server, right? So that is nothing but your www.github.com. So now let me open that website also for you, www.github.com. So let me copy this website itself and paste it here. Okay, so github.com is a website which is available for you remotely. This is a free website only. You can store all your remote things here. Okay, so you can store all your remote items here in your GitHub. This is a centralized repository for you. Here you need to sign up an account, but I have already one account. So with that account, I'm going to log in directly. But you guys don't have an account now, give your username and give your email ID and give your password. With that user ID and password only hereafter you need to log in. So remember that user ID and password hereafter. But I have my own user ID passwords. So I'm going to log in into my account and I'm going to show for you. So my account is nothing but this one. Check out here. I'm going to log in into my account with the username called as Karthik Govind 7, and the password is a critical password which I have given, so that only the system will be allow me to log in into it. So it will always expect a critical password. So I think it has sent one email verification also, because from this browser for the first time I'm logging into it. So that is why it has sent an email verification also. But unfortunately, this is not going to be my email. So let me log out from here, or let me log in with another account. So hold on for a minute. Let me try to log in. I'm not even sure that what the password I have given. Okay, that's working. Good. So if you go here, your GitHub will be available. Okay, that would have sent a verification thing. So I'm going to now verify it. The verification code is 86048. So let me copy and paste here the verification code and verify it. So like this, you also need to verify your systems. Then you will be logged into your GitHub. Okay. So I think I have done with my local and my working directory and my local repository and my remote repository. Have given an introduction and have given an idea. But before proceeding with the rest of the steps, let me open a questionnaire session. If you guys have any questions, yes, you can ask with me. Are we all in the same page? Can you guys able to gather out what I'm doing out? Or you have any questions, just openly ask me here, or else give me a confirmation that you are clear so that I will proceed. Super. So I'm seeing multiple clear in the chat. So I'm considering that I am fine to proceed out. Okay, so I will proceed out. But before that, okay, once again, I will give a recap. I have created one EC2. Once after I have created an EC2, I have installed a Git. Once after I install the Git, I choose the folder for Git, and then in that folder, I have initiated my Git. That's it. I have done till now, and I showed you now what is a local repository, what is a remote repository. Now we are going to make our files to float between this local repository and the remote repository. One by one, we will do. Okay. If we initialize the Git without creating the folder, it will save in the default folder. Exactly, Naveen. It is going to save in your default folder only, but my default folder is too ugly. For that the reason I created a folder. Check out here what will be my default folder. My default folder will be my /root. Okay, so multiple things will be available here. So if I come out of it, you can able to see it. Okay, so now I have landed up into the root. So it will be creating Git folder here, that Git folder. So to avoid all these files confusion only, I have created a dedicated item. Okay, so never bother about it. Okay, so now let me get into my Git folder. Okay, so let me get into the root path. Under my root path, under that, let me get into Git. So now if you get into the Git, you can able to see the Git folder is available for you. So now I'm done with. So let me proceed with my next item. Okay, I have created one file. Do you remember that? So this file is available here. So this file, what I'm going to do now, this file is now external to the Git. It is not inside your Git, guys. It is not inside your local Git, local repository. So this .git folder is not having any information about your Git test file. So it is not available into it. Do you want to see that as a proof? Check out here. If I'm going to ask with the Git, okay, Git status is a command. -s if I am giving now, it will be giving me an output. Check out what is the output. The output is showing like there is a file called as a test, which is external to the Git and it is not internal to the Git, and it is showing like it is an unknown file. I'm showing the status for you in a shorter form. That is why you can able to see in this way. If I'm going to expand it, Git status, if I'm giving now, check out, you can able to see that there is one untracked files available for you. This untracked file, what it is saying na, your Git is not available appropriately. So your Git is without this test file. So it is asking nothing added to commit. So it is asking you to include it. So that is why it is giving you a command also. Git add command with the file name you need to add to include in what it will be committed. So that in future you can commit it. So now I need to teach you what are all the operations we are going to perform with the Git. Now only one operation you guys know. What is that? Git init. What Git init will be doing now? It will be initializing your Git. That is what the only operation I have told with. But now I'm going to proceed out with the multiple operations, which will be giving you an idea that what and all a Git can do. So in this basic operation, I'm going to add some other data also to it. So what I'm going to add now, check it out what I'm going to do. Go to your picture, which I have given you earlier. There is a distributed version controlling system, right? There I have another picture also to show you, which is nothing but in what format the Git will be working. I think these names are all very familiar for you, right? Working directory, you know very well. Local repository, you know very well. Remote repository, you know very well. Already I have given the definition. Only the newer item is staging area. Okay, so now what I'm going to do now, my file is now in the working directory. My file name is test. This file name test, I need to move it on to my staging area. For that, I need to use a command called as git add. Once I move on to the staging area, I need to move on to the local repository. Then I will be giving a name called as a git commit. So working directory need to carry the file to your local repository. Now you need to have it in a staging area first, and then you need to move on. Why? Because staging area is a temporary location to store your data until before you commit it. So before you commit it, you have this staging option available for you now. Yes, this is your staging area. So this staging area will be helpful for you to store or keep your data temporarily, so that if you have a second thought of reverting back the data, yes, you can revert it back. For that the reason we have a staging area in between. But sometimes we can skip the staging area also. I will tell about that later on. But if at all you are not confident about the data what you are going to store, always put it into staging area, get the confirmation, and then proceed with the local repository. Why? Because once after you do commit, it will be generating a log for the thing committed. So a log will be generated now, then definitely then definitely it will be a trouble for you. So make sure that git add, git commit are these the commands which we are going to use one by one in our real-time environment to work with. For that the reason git add, git commit I'm providing with. Right. So now I think I have done with my working directory to the staging area. I need to do now. I need to issue a command called as git add. Check out, guys, how am I using that git add from this particular current folder, because there only my file is available, right? So from there, I need to issue a command called as git add. Okay, with the file name, it has been included, right? So it has given the file name also. What is your file name? Test. So give test. Once you give git add test, it will be adding your data into your staging area. So now let me give a git add test. Once I have done, now your data has been added into your .git folder. If it is added in the .git folder, if you run the same status command, the status command will be showing you a different output. Check out this output, how it is looking. Now the same status command I'm running, it is not showing like earlier. With a question mark earlier, it was showing, right? So now check out, it is showing like a symbol, which is nothing but the data has been added. And also it is showing in a green color, not like a red color, because red is a danger symbol, right? So now it is a pleasant symbol, which shows that the data has been added into your .git folder without any issues. So your .git folder is now holding the content. So your data has been added successfully into your .git folder. I think we have done with our .git folder kind of activities. So your first step in the cycle has been completed. So next we need to issue git commit, and then we need to issue the git push. But when you issue git commit, after the git commit, a log will be created, I told, right? After a git commit, a log will be getting created. So what is this log? This log will always capture about the data related with the version controlling, so that in future you can refer this log and you can verify that for what purpose you have done this change, for what that you have did, everything it will be very clearly kept in the log. So log is a mandatory component, and this mandatory component need to be followed with. So there is no choice to avoid this mandatory component. So this mandatory component is need to be followed. I am also going to follow this mandatory component only. So I'm going to give a git commit with one message also to be captured in the log. But before proceeding with this commit, okay, I need to tell about one more command called as a git config. Okay, I need to tell about one more command called as git config. Let me clear the screen and give a git config. Okay, if I'm issuing a command called as a git config, check out, guys, what it is going to give for you. So git config, if I'm giving okay, what I have done, a spelling mistake. Check out here, hold on. Okay, I didn't give config, I think. I have given only git. So let me give git config, okay. In which folder I'm standing? Okay, and there the git folder is added, right? .git operation is found. Okay. Okay, I need to give git config -l, then only I can able to see the configuration related with it. Checkout -l, sorry. So once I have given git config -l, it will be able to show what are all the config items have been available for me. So only these are the configuration item available for me, but I have added nothing related with me. My information is not available anything. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run some config commands related with the git, which is captured in this particular window. Can you able to see my screen? So in this screen, I have added some config commands basically, which I need to use. So there I'm introducing that what is going to be the username, and what is going to be the email ID, and what is going to be the core editor option, which I'm going to edit the files, and what is going to be the compression speed, that in what way I'm going to access my, in what speed I'm going to access my Git components. And diff tool is a option which I am going to use it in future for tool. So all these options are not needed, but mainly these components are needed. So what I'm going to do, git config -global username with the username I'm going to give, and my email ID I'm going to give. So if I add these particular details to this particular Git, then my Git will start to add it under my config information, where you can able to see the configuration. Check out git config -l will now have the information about my config. So now if I'm going to do any activity in the log, it will try to capture out my data informations. So now I'm going to take you into git commit. Check out here, I have done with the git add. Then I have added some config informations related with me, because my system need to know that who is operating it. Then only the log will capturing the data according to that user, right? Or else it will start to record the thing like root user. Root is a common user. None of your logs should be having a common user information, rather than a developer or an administrator or a DevOps engineer, support engineers data only need to be stored and kept. For that the reason we are going to add that way. So check out here, now I'm going to use a command called as git commit. So git commit is a command which is used for me to pass on a message. So git commit -m I need to give, definitely, because I need to pass on a message. What's the message I'm going to pass now? First commit. Why? Because I have added a new file and I have added one line into that file, right? Do you remember one line? What is the line now? The line is first line. So I have added that and I have committed it. So now I'm going to give git commit -m first commit. So once I give enter, now my commit operation is also added. Once after giving commit, it will be recorded with one log I told, right? So now you are going to listen carefully. What is that log? So git log is a command which is used for you to check out your logs. So if you give git log, you can able to see that one command has been captured out here, and it has been captured out with a name called as Karthik Govind 7. That is going to be the username which I added in the config, and this is going to be my email ID which I added in the config, and what date, what time, what commit information, all will be available under your log. So this log will be carrying out the information about what we have done, who have done, where we have done, everything it will be captured out. So this captured information will be helpful for you in future to refer that who did this particular change. So that if anything occurs wrong with this particular change, you can go and verify with the appropriate developer or the administrator to check out what it will be. You can ask with me, definitely I need to give a message on. Yes, you need to definitely give a message. Without a message, your commit ID will not be performed. Your commit ID's message will be always carrying the information about relevant to the change. You have done with one change, right? Now only here only you are seeing an example like you are creating a file, but in real time already the file will be available, right? For example, 1,000 lines code will be available. Something, there may be an issue occurring in your production, or some an issue occurring in your developmental or testing environment, then you need to go and fix that in a code. You are not going to do, developer will be doing that. Okay, if a developer is going to fix that in a code, the developer will open the code and he will be doing the change, and then he will be committing it. That time when he commit it, he need to give all the details related with his committed messages, because that is going to become an history in future, so that any people want to refer that what was the latest changes happen, they will be issuing a command called as git log. So this git log will be holding the information like who did this change, what are the changes about, for what purpose it was, for what defect it was a fix. So everything will be captured and kept into this particular log. So log is more important. To get generated a better log, you need to give a better information. So the message need to be much more lengthier, detailed, like a description to capture the entire thing. That for what defect you have worked with, for what incident this issue came out, everything you need to capture out and keep it into your log. That is the best process, right? So I think I have done with git add and git commit. Till here, let me repeat the same thing, and I will put one more change also into the same file. Okay, but before that, let me open a questionnaire session so that if you guys have any questions, yes, you can ask with me. Can you please acknowledge that you are fine?
Karthik, I have one question.
Yeah.
Yeah, for moving this test file from the working directory to the staging area, you used a command called add, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you use that command add, it will be the file will be also in staging area, also in the local repository. But the only thing, it will not create any log unless you give the
Exactly.
command.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Exactly. It will be in the local directory also. It will be there in your staging area also. Until then, you give a commit. It will not be moving on to your original local repository. It will be in a staging area only. For example, before you are getting into a bus, you will be going into that bus and you will be asking the conductor that this bus will be going on, right? So that confirmation area is your staging area. So it is a temporary location only.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or doubts? Or can I proceed out? Can I see some chat related with it? How add recognizes the path? What path you need to get recognized? What path? You are standing on that same path only, you are executing the command, right? So it is on the path only. So it need only your file. So directly you are giving your Git. So all your Git operations need to appropriately placed from that particular path only. So it is all about the path which you are already standing. So you need to stand on that path. Okay, it's answering for the Ajas question. So who pinged me privately? Okay, so others don't get confused. Now any other questions? Sorry guys, clear? Can I see 2 or 3 clear in the chat? Can you able to type and paste for me? Super. Thank you. Thank you guys. Okay, I will proceed. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, so this is going to be the repeated operation, guys. Git add, git commit is going to be the repeated operation. At the day end, only one time only we are going to do git push. So now we have added git add one time, git commit one time. For that, one log has been generated. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to add one more time also. So I'm going to open the same file. Now this time I'm going to add another line item to it. So what the line item I'm going to add now? I'm going to add a line item called as a second line. Check out here. I'm going to add a second line. Okay, second line. So second line once I'm giving now, then it will ask me to save that file. So I'm escaping and I'm saving the file like a Linux administrator. So colon WQ exclamatory enter. So now the file got saved. Now the file got saved newly into your local repository only. This copy will not be in your remote repository or in your local repository. Only in the local directory it has been saved. It will not be there in your local repository and also in your staging area. How you can verify that? I have already taught you what is called as status command, right? So using the status command only, I'm going to verify it. Check out, I'm going to give git status -yes. So this is a command which will be saying that this particular file is modified. And this particular file is modified and it is not added out. So that is why the reason it is showing in a red color. So now you need to add it. So what I'm going to give now, git add test if I'm giving now, this particular file will be added now to your staging area. So once it's added into your staging area, you can able to see the status as a red in color to green in color, which shows that it has added successfully. Then if you give a command called as a git commit command, so this git commit command, what it will be doing now, it will be taking up a commit operation. So you will be giving a command like second commit. So I'm going to give it like a second commit. My keyboard, the N key will not be working properly. So that's the reason I'm using this virtual keypad every time. Okay, so second commit. So once if I give a second commit, you can able to see that this commit also happened. But I didn't show you what it will be happening after giving a commit, right? So now give the status. It will be showing a no output, which means that after a proper commit, there will be nothing as a residue to proceed further. So git commit -m will be giving a second commit. Okay, so git commit -m second commit, git status -s will be showing you that there is nothing to commit. So now if I show you in a detailed manner, it will be saying on your master branch, what is branch? I will come back to later. On your master branch, there is nothing to commit and the working directory is very clean. So this is what the thing it is trying to explain you, which shows you that your branch is paka. So nothing here as a pending. So two things we have done with our file, two things we have committed. Now if you give a command called as git log, this git log will be showing two commits. Can you guys able to see? Commit 1, commit 2, both in what time interval it has been happened. Everything has been captured and kept. But check out guys, now we have only two commits. Now we have only two commits. Why? Because we have done only two commits. That's the reason we can able to see two commits. If at all we are going to have 50-100 commits, then this git log command will be too much lengthy, right? How to see that cut shortedly? Now you can use a command called as git hyphen one line. So you can able to use an operation called as git hyphen one line. So if you use a command called as one line command, then that one line will try to show you the commit statements in a single line itself for you in a crispy manner, that it has taken a short form of your commit ID and it has given what is the message of the commit ID. So everything it has been captured out and it has been shortly given. So you need to see it in a shorter way. Yes, you can see it in a shorter way. Now 100 commands are there. Just to think it out that manner. In that for one command alone, one commit alone, I need to expand and see. Just to copy that commit ID. This is the commit ID, right? Give a command called as git show followed by your commit ID. It will detailedly now tell about your commit also. So git show is one of the commit which will be used for you to see your commit in a better manner. So I think I have shown you multiple commands. So let me try to copy all these commands and put it into your notepad. So all these commands are now helpful for you. Okay. So now let me put it into your chat window, copy and paste it into your notepad instantly. Okay. So that you will not be forgetting it. Okay. So copy and paste it into a notepad. I will give further more commands also. That time you can add that most command also to here. Okay. So now I need a 2 minutes break before I give this stage for you. Why? Because till now here git add, git commit has been done, right? So now I'm going to take you into git push. So how this git push will be working, I will be saying you after some time. So give me 2 minutes break before that. After that I will be coming and another 15-20 minutes of session will be there maximum. Then we will be winding up this particular session. Okay. So hold on, I'll be back in 2 minutes. So now I will take you into how to work from a local repository to a remote repository, and you can able to see that there is a local repository available for you here, and the local repository is having a file in your .git folder. From that .git folder, I'm going to move it to my remote repository. For the remote repository only, I have given an introduction related with your GitHub. So what I'm going to do now, under Git, I'm going to create one GitHub. Okay, under your GitHub, I'm going to create one account. So under that particular account, I'm going to upload this particular content. Check out how I'm going to do that. Once we are done with this, we are done for the day and we will be okay with the basics of your Git. Okay, so check out here. Here I'm going to create a repository. The repository I will be creating it with today's date 15/04/2020. For example, you need to give a unique name for your repository, and the repository name is mandatory. And you need to give a unique name. Already in this name, already one repository is available under your account. Okay, it is not like your S3. The guys who know S3, it should be globally unique, the name. But here in your account, it should be not available because already you have a username, right? This username is already unique. So the URL will be automatically unique. So now check out here, git 15/04/2020 is going to be my repository. So this repository name I have picked out. If I need a description, excuse me, I can add a description also, but I think that it is an optional thing and not needed. And if you come down, you can able to see two options available, public and private. Always go ahead with the public option. Why? Because a private option is a cost involved item. Okay, so this public private, you are going to choose public only for now. And if you save anything in public, anybody can view it, but they cannot able to edit it. But if you save private, nobody can edit and nobody can even view it. So according to your security measure for your product, you need to go ahead with the public or private. Accordingly, you can go ahead with. But in industry, definitely they will go ahead with the private only. Why? Because their all coding data are more important, and that need to be saved and kept into an appropriate location. For that, the sake we will be going ahead with the private. But I'm going to create a simple public repository with the name called as git 15/04/2020 with the today's date. So now my Git repository has been created. It is an empty repository and nothing is available inside this repository. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to push the content from my local machine to this, that is from my local repository to this remote repository. So what the command I'm going to follow now, I'm going to follow a command called as git push. But check out, if I'm going to add this particular command called as git push, I will be getting an error. Why? Because I have not yet specified to which URL it need to move, what file need to be moved. Nothing I have been given. For that the reason, it is showing like a git push is not working for you. So first thing what I need to do is I need to remotely add this particular thing. So how I will be adding now, I will be using a command called as git remote add with some name. Whatever the name you need, you can give a name. For example, I'm going to give the origin name as Karthik. Okay, so if I'm going to give the origin name as Karthik Arik, if I need to give like this, yes, you can give. Or else you have another wish to give any other name. Now, yes, whatever the name you can give, you can give. But this name is a flexible one. Whatever the name you need, you can give. But that name only in future we need to use to push the file. So remember that way, so that give a relevant name to the application, so that it will be easier for you to identify it. So your git remote add, it is going to have a Karthik origin, and you are going to give a URL for it. So that URL is nothing but the git URL what you have created here. So I have created one GitHub, right? So that GitHub is having a Git repository URL. So that Git repository URL I have added out here. You can able to see that Git remote URL is available for me. If I give an enter, this URL will be getting added under my Git remote. So now I can able to do Git push with this particular name. So that my data which is there in the local machine, that is nothing but my test. So all your committed data only will be pushed. Something you have kept without commit, that will not be pushed. So only your committed data will be pushed. So your committed data is your test. So test is going to get to push to your destination. The destination is nothing but this particular URL. You cannot remember this URL every time. For that the reason we have given here all our origin oriented informations. So this one I will be giving out. So git push Karthik origin we need to give. Following to it, you need to give your branch name also. I will tell about the branch later on, but you need to give this branch name. That alone remember here and give enter. If I give enter, it will ask my user ID password. Why? Because I created my bucket. That is my origin. That is nothing but my Git repository. I created my Git repository. Okay. So this Git repository in real time, it will be positioned with the private only, right? So definitely it will be asking a user ID password. But now to edit anything inside the bucket, you need the user ID password permission, I told, right? So that is why now we are pushing the data. Pushing the data is nothing but editing the bucket, editing the repository. So if I'm going to edit that repository, definitely it will be expecting a user ID password from me. This user ID password is nothing but okay, I have given Karthik Govind 7 to log into that particular account, right? So that user ID password only this one. Okay, so never get to worry. So just to give your user ID password Karthik Govind 7 and try to log into your account, and it will be expecting a password also from you. So give the password like whatever the password you have kept for that particular setup. So once you give a user ID and password correctly, it will start to push the data from your local repository to your remote repository. So now the file which is called as test file, which is moved from your local folder to your .git folder. Now you do now move from your .git folder to your Git 1504/2020 repository. Can you able to see that here? Go to your Git repository and refresh the screen. You can able to see that particular item available here. Check out. The test file is available. The test file is with the last commit called as a second commit, and there are totally 2 commits are available, and it is pushed the data from the branch. I will tell about the branch on the next day. Don't need to worry about the branch. And the contributor is nothing but Karthik Govind 7. That was a contributor who did all these changes. So the author information will be your contributor information. So I have done this contribution to this particular setup. So everything now whatever I have done is captured out and kept it here. So this is what called as Git, and here we can able to see your Git repository which you created is available, and you can able to store all your data related with your Git here. So your code like it has been seated and kept here. So we can reuse it whenever we need it. So this beauty is what called as Git repository. So now you basically understood how to install a Git and how to do some basic operations related with Git, and how to create a file, store inside your local repository, store into your remote repository. So these basic items we have done with. Go and practice with these items and come back to me. Then I will proceed you with the next upcoming sessions, which all will involve with the scenario based to understand how Git will be functioning and how Git will be interacting with the user, and what are all the regular issues we will face with the Git, and how we will be troubleshooting those issues. All those advanced concepts we will be seeing in the upcoming sessions. Okay, so I think I have done with the today's sessions to give you the entire idea about the Git. So now let me open a questionnaire session. So anyone have any questions? Yes, you can ask with me. There I will be ready to answer for you. If anyone doesn't have any question and you are clear with that, kindly drop a clear message in your chat so that I will come to know that. I can able to proceed in this way. Okay.
I have it.
Yes.
Actually, when you are pushing it to the repository, use your user ID. If in case I was trying my user ID to push it to your repository, will that accept it?
How
Because
it will be
I'm an
accepting
unauthorized.
logically? How you put if your house key into my door, how it will open?
No, because you made it public, right? That's why I'm asking.
Public means anybody can view only, I said. It will
Okay.
not allow you to edit. Your operation, what you are doing is called as edit operation. If you are editing, it will not allow. For that, you need to have the appropriate key. So standing outside the house, you can see my house, but you need to come into my bedroom now. You need a key. That key, it's my key. If I shared my key to you, definitely you can do that operation from your system. If not, you need to wait until I share it.
Yeah, Kartiki. Karthik, in the real time, if we have multiple developers, so
Okay.
each and every developers will have a separate file in the GitHub. I mean, remote repository.
Yes.
So if one developer wants to see what other developer has done, so he can't directly go and see. He need the permission.
Yes, definitely. That is what the security, right? But everything is going to get integrated to your GitHub only. That integration will be done by the senior developer. He will be having the entire operation. Okay, got it?
Yeah, got it, Karthik. And once the file is moved from local repository to the remote repository, the file will not be there in the local repository.
No, it will be there. I will be showing that. But before that, your name? Who is this? The question is from whom?
Karthik, this is Subha.
Okay, Subha. Okay, fine. Check out here. So now if
yeah.
I'm going to show you, okay, this is in your local also. Check out here. If I'm giving LSF and LRTH, yes, it is available in the local. Okay, the local directory is available. If I give git status, okay, -yes, if it is not going to give you any difference, na, that it means that what is there in the local directory is there in the local repository also, right? So it is available in the local repository content also. So your local repository, both are available, and also I need to have it in my thing also. So git is all doing copy command only. Git is not doing anywhere move command. So don't worry about that. It will not be available in your local. It will be available in your local, and it will be available in your local repository also. It will be available in your remote repository also. Unless otherwise you delete it, it will not be get removed automatically, or it will not be get moved out.
Okay, Karthik, clear.
Good. Fine. I will be giving the entire idea related about your operations called as push also once again. Okay. But before that, answering to some other's question. So when a developer updates the source code, does that overlap with the other developer? Definitely it will be overlapping and all. All those are the issues what we are going to see in the upcoming Git. Definitely we'll discuss about it. Till now what we have seen, till there, if you have any clarification, you can ask with me. Some outbox of questions after seeing your part 2 or part 3 of the sessions of Git, you back come back to me. Okay, so don't need to worry about that one. Coming to Avinash question, can you please show how to revert the commit? Okay, so that is what going to be the assignment for you. That is what about to give to you. Okay, so you try to do that as an assignment. How to revert a commit? Commit cannot be reverted. What you can revert? When I put it in a staging area, I told that I can able to revert it, right? Using what command I will be reverting it? That command you are going to add command. Add command, after that it is going to stay under your local git. So that thing you are going to bring it back, right? So that one only have shown you. So we will be discussing that thing in a detailed manner later on, but I will give that as an assignment before you come to the next class. Tell me that how this reverting can be happened. I will be sharing you some documentation. The documentation will be having those details also. Try to dig out from the documentation itself. But if it is not, I will tell you that how it will be happening. Okay. So now I need to tell once again how this particular item is working out. Okay. So if you see here, okay, I have some other assignments also for you. Hold on for it, but I will rewind this particular remote push, how I will be doing that. Check out here. Once I give git to push, it is not working for you, right? Why? Because it is asking the remote URL. That remote URL information, I'm giving it as a name wise. So I'm including it like a variable. So I'm declaring a variable, and that variable name I am assigning the URL name, so that the same variable name I'm using in the future to push my data. So git to push with that particular variable name from which branch we are going to push it out. Always branch name need to be included. So I'm going to include this particular branch name master. I will tell about the branch in the upcoming session, but branch name need to be included. So once I have pushed it, it will be asking the user ID password. Why? Because even though you kept it as public, you cannot allow to write anything into your Git repository. For that, you should be the owner of the GitHub. So that's the reason it is asking the GitHub user ID password. Then I have given my user ID password and I have logged into my account. Okay, so this way I have understood that how my Git is performing local operations and my remote operations. Now coming to your setup assignment. Okay, I will be giving some of the assignment. Okay, my keyboard is not that much good. Okay, so Avinash, can you do me a favor? What you will do, keep everyone and try to type the thing what I am saying. Okay, so my keyboard is not good, that is why I need your help. So I will give assignment number 1. So you type the assignment for everyone. Okay, so keep it as everyone and post it out. Just type whatever I'm saying. Okay, my first assignment is what I gave for you now. Okay, what you need to do, first assignment is check out how to revert from after adding the command. Okay, so guys, over after Avinash posting, try to copy and keep it and do as a posting. Okay, so Avinash, try to write the first assignment as how to revert back the changes once you are done with. Okay, that is your assignment number 1. Okay, my assignment number 2 is, okay, so my assignment number 2 is how to differentiate Git with the other version controlling tool. What are the other version controlling tools we have? Git versus Bitbucket, Bitbucket versus SVN. Okay, all these are the topmost version controlling tool, right? So try to compare it with some other version controlling tool and get some data related with it and post me as an assignment number 2. So assignment number 1, you are going to you are going to listen how you are going to revert it back. And assignment number 2 is something related with differentiation. Okay, and assignment number 3, okay, so you are going to understand a concept called as okay, what is git stash, stash, git stash. So you are going to work with the git stash now. What it will be, stash. Okay, so this one I need. Okay, git stash. Let me put it to everyone, stash. So these are all going to be the assignments for you. Avinash, can you just copy and put it in the chat for everyone? What are all the assignments they need to take it at? Okay, so I will be stopping the recording here.